Hello everyone from the Melek'le channel. Today's recipe is to make soft cheese at home. It's great for spreading on bread and also for slicing. Of course, those who follow my channel know this. We use cow's milk. It doesn't matter if you prefer sheep or goat milk, but since I can find cow's milk, I have the fresh milk we get from farms. I put 3 liters of cow's milk in the pot and first strain it. Even though it has been strained, there are still tiny black particles and small bits left in it. By using a strainer and placing a piece of cheesecloth on top while straining, I can remove all the particles inside. Now I put it on the stove and boil it until it reaches 80 degrees. All milk above 72 degrees is considered boiled. When it reaches 80 degrees, I take it off the stove, and at that point, it is almost at boiling point. I wanted to keep this video as short and quick as possible. I don't want to tire you out or take up your time. You don't need to spend too much time at the beginning, but we are not boiling it. When we boil it, we will ferment it a little. Later, it doesn't ferment because we are going to ferment it. Now it's done. As you can see, it has passed 80 degrees. In fact, like this. It fluctuates between 80 and sometimes goes up to 81. But it has reached a solid 80. I take it off the stove and set it aside, to wait until it cools to 30 degrees. Dear friends, I occasionally come and stir the cream so that it melts inside. After it reaches 30 degrees, I ferment it with 1 tablespoon of yogurt for each liter. Now I use 3 tablespoons of yogurt for 3 liters of milk. I cover it, and after 5 hours, I will open it again to move on to the next stage. It will rest here for 5 hours. At the end of the 5 hours, I add 3 teaspoons of rennet. If you are using store-bought rennet, just a drop is enough. But since this is my homemade rennet, it is not as strong as the store-bought ones, so I use 3 teaspoons or a heaping tablespoon. But as I said, if you are using store-bought rennet, just a drop will suffice. I mix this well, I don't cover it with anything, and let it ferment with the rennet for 12 hours. Now, at the end of the 12 hours, look, we are opening it together, and it has set like a stone, just like yogurt. But this has, of course, become our fermented cheese. Its name is known as soft cheese. Dear friends, in cheese books, in cheese encyclopedias, or if there are local producers of such things, this is also soft cheese. In fact, we can say that soft cheese is what we call strained cheese today. This becomes strained cheese by today's name. By the name in the encyclopedia, it is also soft cheese. I cut it well with a knife. If you want, you can cut it, or you can just whisk it immediately with a whisk. But since this will be a bit like strained yogurt, and I will be using it by straining, I am gently awakening it with a knife instead of a whisk. I am putting the cheese into the straining bag. If you have a large strainer, you can put all of it in at once, but my strainer is such that it has taken half at a time. That's why I added more as it strained. If you want sweet strained cheese, you need to do the straining process in the fridge, but if you want a normal strained cheese without a slight sourness or milk smell, then it can be left outside. It can be strained outside. As you can see, I didn't put this in the fridge because the weather is cool right now. I kept it outside. And it's strained like this outside. It doesn't strain all at once like other cheeses. It strains quite slowly. It can take almost half a day to a full day. Ideally, you can put it to strain in the evening and let it strain by itself until morning. It becomes easier this way. Now, as you can see, I am flipping the cheese that has strained overnight and cutting it directly in the mold it was in. This strained cheese takes the shape of the container it was strained in. You can strain it in any shape you want. You don't intervene at all, it strains slowly by itself. And because it strains by itself, as you can see in the cheesecloth, there is not a single piece of strained cheese left. Now I am cutting it, first adding plenty of salt on top. After adding salt, I cut them again, and I consume it this way. I do not put it in brine. I do not make brine for this. It is meant to be spread on bread. Without brine. It has enough salt on it, but if you want it unsalted, of course don't add salt. Salt preserves it and prevents it from spoiling quickly. There is no smell in these. You can store them like this with the lid open in the fridge for almost 10 days. But it is better to cover it with cling film. Thank you for watching me. See you in the next recipes. Goodbye. Bye-bye.